Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you are here. Welcome to this Starseed Energy reading. This intuitive card reading is offered every month to the Catalyst membership. So for those of you who are signed up and will get the full entirety of this reading on our membership site, thank you very much. The Subscribe Star account has been fully deactivated and deleted. I'm a little, I don't know, a little annoyed, but not surprised that they kept the funds that were in my account because they have a threshold that you have to reach before you can withdraw funds. Part of why I did not want to use SubscribeStar anymore. So, but other than that, it really just confirmed why I don't want to use that site anymore. So Catalyst membership is directly through the website that I have now. You can sign up for it in the link in the description box below if you want to get this full reading. And thank you again to those who have signed up for membership. You also get a dedicated discount code when you sign up that gives you a percentage discount on all of the things in my store, except the packages. And I'm still working on other exclusive benefits that would be the most benefit to anybody who signs up to the membership. But today we're going to talk about this starseed energy reading. So, general overview, especially since the full moon, has it's pretty clear that there's going to be a big wave of awakening, especially more starseeds waking up. The Pleiadian energy is really front and center with this Sun Uranus conjunction on the Pleiades, and big activation happening. Uh, for those who are already fully identified as a star seed, however you've come to that conclusion, whether it's your own intuitive knowing, you've had a reading with me or from another a reader or astrologer, I think those of us who have been actively and consciously engaged with and working with those starseed origins, there's a necessity for us to be very aware. And we've been kind of preparing ourselves in different ways for, I would say, this moment, but also to be a beacon for what seems like there's going to be another big wave of awakening, just like another wave of volunteers are about to wake up. Now, I've seen some things from people, other astrologers and readers. One person in particular, where I saw, an email out to this person's list that said the walk-ins are here. I have some reservations about that, but I think the general feel is that the Lightworker Starseed community in general is feeling like, okay, why we're here, we're about to stand up and be ready. But I do feel it's more of like being a beacon for those who are about to get kind of jolted out of their slumber or really just come to a full knowing of why they're here and to understand specifically their galactic, um, the galactic template that is part of their larger astrological blueprint. So at a soul level, at a personality level here. So any of you who had the Starseed reading with me, you know exactly what I'm talking about because this is the way that I approach those readings, that is very multidimensional, and that there are so many layers to the blueprint of us as a soul coming into this incarnation that breaking it down, especially from the starseed perspective, is kind of necessary. So I will say that in terms of recent readings, in terms of recent events in my personal and professional life, just observing and also experiencing recent, just people reaching out, asking questions. I do feel that like the bubbling is definitely there. Like you can feel the effervescence of the awakening. The next wave is coming. Okay. A big part of this, in my opinion, is the Sun Uranus conjunction. It will be conjunct exactly on May 17th, which is what tomorrow, as of this recording. It is going to be in conjunction with not only the Pleiades, almost exactly, but also to these two bodies, right? The Sun and the planet Uranus will be in alignment with the star Algol, which is in the head of Medusa or the Gorgon. So, for those of you who are familiar with this star, It really is not a good omen in a mundane sense. It has to do a lot with bereavement, with death, beheadings, and that's the best case scenario, is this capacity to really act as a counselor or just a person of support and comfort for bereavement. Okay. But I do suspect that there will be the jarring because of those types of events in people's lives. And like I said, I'm already experiencing it and observing it in my personal and definitely professional life. So that's something to consider in terms of Sun Uranus coming together in the sign of Taurus, right? People are kind of getting jolted out of their comfort, out of their sense of security and safety, right? What is valuable is going to, get that jolt of kind of awakening. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but as we know, the tower moment usually isn't that, comfortable or fun unless you really like those types of thrill rides. So for those of us who have been, like I said, working with this starseed energy for a while, we feel very connected, especially to the Pleiades. But whatever origins are most prominent in your blueprint, so to speak, I do feel like that there is a need to be a beacon and also to just be very aware that it's those aspects which are truly have run their course and are ready to be returned back to the stream of source in order to be broken down and regenerated. They're definitely, it's happening, right? But there's also the potential to rise above that, to experiencing a new beginning as well. And that's what this Sun Uranus conjunction can really provide. Another piece of uh, information that I think is a very teachable moment when it comes to astrology and the events of the, out in the public sphere. Now, this is, like I said, it's just a teachable moment, maybe curb some of your personal feelings about things just to get a sense of how astrology is incredibly relevant to these events, whether or not they're planned in alignment with these transits or it's just the potential of them. It has such an impact on the way things unfold that uh, it's hard to ignore, regardless. And it doesn't really matter, but it's important to see that if you can read the map, then you're not going to be surprised when even shocking events that have to do with Uranus come out of the woodwork, so to speak. So, Sun and Uranus conjunction at 27 to 28 degrees Taurus. Now, what has recently transpired since last night, so today's the 16th, so last night into this morning, there has been a scandal that's broke where the former FBI Director James Comey has he posted something on his private Instagram or his personal Instagram account. It was a seashells on a beach that were in the formation of the numbers 8647, right? So it's a pretty obvious call to assassinate President Trump. It's not funny. The reason I'm laughing is because it's so obvious. Like it's almost it's such an obvious play, and maybe that's just because people are so much more awake than they've ever been that like the obvious is there's no obfuscating or coding of anything anymore, even when that's maybe the intention was to code that. It's just it's kind of mind blowing to me that it's just like wow, that was really obvious. So the teachable astrology moment here before we get into this reading is relevant if you are identified as a star seed. I think it's very important to be able to not only understand astrology, but understand your own astrology charts as well. And this is a perfect example of how to just be aware of things and what you can reasonably expect and maybe how to plan for it, or certainly not be taken off guard. So, Sun Uranus conjunct at Algol, right? Having to do with beheadings and death. Well, this particular transit currently is in a square to the natal Mars in the 12th house in Leo of President Trump. Okay. And the Sun Uranus conjunction is in his 10th house. He has a natal Sun Uranus conjunction in his 10th house. Of course, his is in Gemini, but his midheaven actually is the Pleiades, and it's about 2 degrees off from Algol. So the reason this is that I want to bring this up is because the first assassination attempt on July 13th, we had a very similar transit, but it was Mars and Uranus that was conjunct uh, in Mars and Uranus conjunct in Taurus, conjunct Algol in a square to his natal Mars. So that was that was much more of a forceful output, right? So much more of a Mars square Mars type of thing. Now we have the Sun and Uranus in a square to his natal Mars, and yet there's another call to assassinate. So, and very public, right? And it's very interesting that these things happen as these transits are happening. So, like I said, whether or not it's planned, I mean, those who are very invested in the dark occult are going to utilize astrology to plan for their events, of course, but you also can get a sense of what they might be planning based on the astrology. So, that's again a teachable moment. I'm not advocating, condoning, condemning anything. I'm just showing the astrology and making the connections to public events. And you can do that. There's lots of astrologers that's how they make their living, is forecasting and predicting those types of things. I'm more interested as a starseed coach in facilitating people's personal journeys with their starseed lineages, with their own uh, their own spiritual journey. And especially if you are a star seed, it does mean you are a volunteer. You're here for a reason. And so understanding that gives you some sense of how to move forward, how you can be the most support for those around you. What is it that you are here to do, quote unquote, your mission? Because you wouldn't volunteer for something like this unless you had some sort of goal in mind. And it's not just about your own personal karma, which is definitely part of all of our journey, but also too, there's a reason volunteer to come back and be part of this. So with that being said, let's get into the intuitive reading. And just a reminder, if you are interested in this, you may sign up for Catalyst membership, have access to this full reading on the membership